Okay, quick review, summary, I guess I should say, of my SWFA scope evaluation. First off, I'd like to thank Chris and Brady. Again, this is a great opportunity you've extended me to keep these scopes for 4 months, and I really tried to put them through the paces, and I've got about 400 or 500 rounds collectively through them, enough so to where I think I'm comfortable to share my opinions of what I found, likes and dislikes wise. More so than just I took a scope out of the box, looked through it and said, hey, it's great, or hey, it's crap. But anyway, did a good job making these scopes, and I really appreciate it. First thing I want to say is that this is by no means a scientific review or anything. This is just kind of about what I was trying to do here was more of an end user. As a consumer, as you a consumer, and me, what can I expect if I open a box? And this is what I'm going to try to give you. If I miss anything in the video or the footage of the testing that I've made, by all means post up and I'll try to answer your questions. But front to back, this is how I'm going to address what I think about these scopes. First off, they're great. I liked it. In 4 months, I can't think of one thing that it really lacked on performance-wise. You know, and that I'll get into some of the nitpicky things later. But as far as everything works as advertised, it tracks properly, it sees good. You know, they're light and compact, or not so much compact, but they're really lightweight and well built. The first thing I did when I got the scope was I checked the reticles for cant. Didn't seem to be any cant in the reticles, so that kind of passed. Next thing I did was I took some graph paper and I made a chart and checked the reticles for subtension, proper subtension, and which they did subtend properly. So now that I have a reticle I know is straight and I know subtends properly, I went on to the box test next. And a lot of you are familiar with the box test. You just put a target at the bottom and then you randomly put stickers all the way up. I think I went up to 13 or 14 mils elevation with maybe 2.5, 3 mils of windage. And you hold the bottom dot and dial, you read the dots on the reticle and then you just dial accordingly. And if the scope and reticle are tracking properly and subtended properly, you should hit target all the way up. So anyway, did that, and y'all saw the footage of that. It, you know, worked perfectly as far as I'm concerned, within the realm of shooter error or you know, reading the reticle, you know, is going to introduce a little bit of error because, you know, some of that with a mil dot is not as fine as some, you know, like a horse type or something like that. So I think I was happy with the results there, enough to say that I think it tracked properly. One thing I will say that stood out to me was how well these returned to zero. No matter what I did, through 50 rounds of BMG, back onto a precision rifle, through just abusing the turrets, going all the way up to the stop on both the top and bottom, never did I have a problem with it not returning exactly to my zero. I mean, I could always come back to zero and put a hole right in the name, you know, same group I started with. So that was something that very well impressed me as far as the tracking. Some of the other stuff y'all might be concerned about. Turrets are audible. They're solid, precise. Kind of hard to see in the video, but each time you turn it, it falls directly on the hash it's supposed to, not in between, not a little to the left, a little to the right. So they're very precise in my book, which is something that I will comment on. With the old Super Snipers, the turrets weren't near as nice as this. You take these caps off, a big hunk of brass in there. It's, you know, very solid looking. I think they did a really good job designing those turret systems. One more thing I will say, as far as parallax, I really like how this 10X adjusted down to 50 yards for parallax to infinity. Never had any parallax error with any of them. I will say initially I kind of was expecting a parallax adjustment on the 3 to 9 where there wasn't one. But after 4 months of shooting the scope, I can really see why they didn't put it on there. I never had any parallax error from 50 yards out to 600. So I don't really think it's a necessary thing, and whereas it was a complaint at first, now I don't really, it doesn't bother me at all. As far as diopter, adjust like a diopter should, kind of fine adjustment on the diopter. You might have to mess with it a little bit just to get it just right. As far as glass evaluation, which I know everybody wants to hear first, I will say that there was 4 other shooters involved in this that helped me do this evaluation, some local friends of mine, and we all have Schmidt's, USOs, Hensoldts, and Leopold's. Some old Mark IV Leopold's is what we had. And I will say this, that not one of the shooters felt like this 10 HD left anything to be desired as far as glass quality. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go with comparing glass to glass. But I will say that even in low light, I could see hits all the way to the sun went away at 100 yards with the 10X HD. And as well as I never had problems seeing holes in paper at 300 yards with it. So that's about as far as I went with glass evaluation on it. I think the HD is really nice. Now on to my complaints. If it was a perfect world, I know a lot of you scream for zero stops and illumination and all that stuff, but you got to realize that in order to keep a certain price point, you're going to have to give up something. Zero stops are not a big deal to me. I really like this. The line system is similar to the old Leupold Mark I turrets that I'm used to, or M1 turrets. And a trick that I had on those was I'd get my zero and then I'd take a Sharpie and I'd color those lines out so that only the line for my zero is exposed. And I found that I could do the same thing here. So while not a zero stop, I never found myself not knowing where my zero was. So for you high-speed operators that need to be able to operate them in the pitch dark, and you know, that might be a problem, but for I think the rest of the 99.5% of us out there, you can find your zero, and the zero stop would be just kind of an added luxury that you're going to have to pay more money for. So anyway, illumination would be nice, yes, going to cost more money. I personally have used my illumination maybe none on any of my other scopes, and I don't really care to have it. So I think that's a moot point with me. My biggest gripe is, and most people know this, is I'm not a huge fan of mil dots. They're usable, I can use them. I would rather have different reticles. But now that I see that 5 to 20 is out, I'm really hoping that Super Sniper or SWFA, is gonna, maybe offer that reticle that's in there in these. And that would be nice. If they just had like a hash style reticle, it would be great, even if it was just a 1/2 mil hash or something. But other than that, my only real gripe, it'd be nice to have another reticle, but I will say this, having a mil dot with mil turrets is a huge improvement over the old ones. So just having the matching turrets and reticle, I think really, accomplished the goal, and the rest is just being kind of nitpicky. But anyway, that's all I really have on the scopes. They worked as they should. They took a pretty good beating as far as the 10X with the 50 cal and didn't seem to phase it. I will say one more thing that I wish they'd have the HD in this, because while this glass is very nice, the 10X HD, that HD glass just really has a really good, I don't know how to say it, but a really good definition. It really, high definition is right. It's really, you can tell a difference. So it'd be nice if they put the HD glass in the 3 to 9. But one more thing I will say is that the 3 to 9, I noticed as far as the eye box, their eye relief were fine. It's normal, 2.5 inches or whatever, 3 inches, I guess. I don't know. I never felt like my eye, I had to get too close. They're not too hard to get behind. But one thing I will say is on the 3 to 9, you had a lot less of that black ring around it that you did with the 10X, and just something I noticed between the two. A lot bigger field of view in the eyepiece, I guess you would say. So anyway, something just to note on that. Other than that, they sent a Bobro mount, and I'm not really an expert on quick release mounts because I don't use them. Never really have. I've got one that I just have. I've never really used it though. I'll post the results of the test with it. You can judge for yourself. Maybe someone out there that has more experience with QD mounts can say, hey, this is great, hey, this is not. As far as what I can tell from the mount, it's a good solid mount. I really do like the latching system. It's got a both a pin and a lug here for the Picatinny mount, which I think keeps it really held in tight. I noticed that if I take it and kind of slide it back and jam that thing in there, it's locked up tight. The way it works, safety mechanism, then pop that off, pop it back on. It's really simple and quick. Really like the clean design. As I said in the beginning, I don't like how you have to take the latch off to get these two stud or caps torqued properly. One thing I did like though is that it has a stud style system on the caps versus a screw, meaning that this cap has 4 studs embedded in it, goes into the holes and then uses a cap system similar to a nut and bolt, which I think is a very good clamping system, and it just gives you a lot, I think, more even, secure clamp. So, my opinion. So anyway, bow mount seems nice. Like I said, I'll post the results of my testing with it. I did a lot of on-off testing, group at 100, and then we did 500 yards on plate, on-off, ringing the plate. So you guys can be the judge there. Personally, my opinion is, I think as far as a QD mount goes, I don't really expect any of them to come back to an absolute 0. Maybe I'm wrong on that. That's just my opinion. I will say that if you take this scope off, put it back on, that I think within one adjustment you'll be back to your absolute 0. So, take that for what it's worth. So anyway, had a good time doing it. If you have any questions, post them up. I'll try to answer. I tried to cover everything real quickly. I'm not going to bore you with a super long video, but just post up in the thread and I'll be happy to answer any questions. As an end consumer, if someone would ask me, hey, I want a scope, I don't have $2,000-$3,000 to spend, what do you think about these? I wouldn't hesitate. I say for the price point, you're going to be very impressed. So anyway, that's my evaluation, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks.